Today, we are back in Georgia to take a look at another car that is owned by a viewer of the channel, 1967 Pontiac GTO. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. Picture this. You just obtained a car you knew nothing or next to nothing about. This channel is home to all of those lost and forgotten cars of yesteryear. We feature the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, and cars off the beaten path. If that sounds like a channel that you would totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. 1967 Pontiac model lineup. These aren't in any particular order. Bonneville, Catalina, Executive, Firebird, Grand Prix, Le Mans, Tempest, Safari Wagon, Ventura, and then there was the GTO. Pontiac offered the GTO from 1964 to 1974 and took a bit of a hiatus until 2003 when they brought the name back from 2003 to 2006. It was offered in 5 generations. 1967 falls in the first generation, which had a production run from 1964 to 1967. 64, 65, 66, 67. 67 was essentially a carryover body. The design started back in 1965. 67 was the last year for the stacked headlights. Even though the body styles were roughly the same, there was some subtle changes. Louver cover taillights were replaced with 8 taillights, 4 on each side. The grille was changed from a split grille to a grille that shared chrome. Real quick, a bit of background on the Pontiac GTO story. The GTO was the brainchild of 3 key people: Bill Collins, Russ Gee, and John DeLorean. John DeLorean gets the credit of naming the GTO, and he named it after the Ferrari 250 GTO, which is one of the sexiest cars ever to be built ever. GTO for Ferrari means Gran Turismo Amagato. But Pontiac offered a different acronym. At the top of the Pontiac order sheet, it says Grand Tempest Option. Some even call it Groovy Tempest Option because essentially that's what it was a Tempest option in the very beginning. Built on the GM A-body platform, along such cars as the Oldsmobile 442, Buick Skylark Grand Sport, and the Chevy Impala SS, the Pontiac GTO competed with, well, just about anything, really. Mercury Cougar, Ford Torino, Charger, GTX. Honestly, one could pair or price the GTO against a lot of cars in the muscle car segment because by 1967, the muscle car segment was huge. 1967 Pontiac GTO could be had in 3 body configurations: 2-door hardtop, 2-door coupe, or 2-door convertible. The difference between the coupe and the hardtop was the coupe was a post car, but they didn't call it a sedan, they just called it a sports coupe. Let's talk specs. 202 inches long, 75 inches wide, 115 inches is the wheelbase that it rides on. 3,425 pounds is how much it weighs. Price, $2,930, which is equivalent to you spending $26,142.97 in the year 2022. Total 1967 production numbers was 782,734 units, of which 81,722 were GTOs. And then I'm going to break all of the GTO numbers down for you. They made 9,517 convertibles, 7,029 coupes, 65,176 hardtops. Moving on to engines, there's only one engine on offer, a couple horsepower variants. 400 cubic inch displacement V8, 6.6 liters. It makes either 335 horsepower or 360 horsepower, 438 foot-pounds of torque, bore of 4.1 inches and a stroke of 3.8 inches. Compression is 1075 to 1. It is wrapped in a cast iron block. Okay, mileage may vary. One must take into account that a car is essentially an equation because everything has an effect on speed, such as tires, rear end, and a good tune. These are stock baseline numbers. When mated to a 3-speed automatic, 0 to 60 could be had in 8.1 seconds. Theoretical top speed is 122 miles per hour and 10.1 miles to the gallon is the average fuel economy. In contrast to if it was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, 0 to 60 is 5.7 seconds. That's really impressive. 116 miles per hour is the theoretical top speed, which doesn't really make sense to me because you're adding another gear. You would think that it would be faster. It'll do the quarter mile in 14.4 seconds. Average fuel economy is 10 miles to the gallon. 3 transmissions on offer: 3-speed manual, 3-speed automatic, or 4-speed manual. All right, let's start up here. Notice this line. See how it comes up here? It's not symmetrical. Over here, it doesn't come up nearly as high as it comes up over here. And it makes for a really interesting line that comes all the way back. So it stops right here, and then it continues up the A-pillar. Down here is another line, kind of starts over here.
Yeah.
Comes all the way back.
Line goes all the way down.
And out the side there.
I think that's where they get the Coke bottle kind of design.
Oh, this is a Coke bottle car?
I think that's what they call these, yes, of this time period.
So check this out. I absolutely love the bright work on the rocker panels in the bottom there.
Yeah.
And how it comes up over the wheel wells. Even here, they didn't
Front too.
They didn't stinge out. They put a stainless piece there as well. Just check out these bumpers. I absolutely love the stacked headlights. It's my favorite aspect of the design.
I don't know why cars got away from me.
So just check this out. The low beam light is on the top here. These are parking lights or running lights.
The grill, yeah.
Yeah. Back here, just check out this roof design. It looks very similar to a 70 Charger. What do you guys think? In the comment section below. This line that comes up this way, and then it connects with this line that comes back down here. And it's also angled. I don't know if you can tell the angle there on the screen.
You probably see it more a little bit back here, you can see.
Yeah. But just check out these tail lights and how they're designed. So just want to show you these real quick. Check out these. I've never seen these on windshield wipers. The owner said that there must be like rain deflectors. So just check that out. I've never seen that before. Take a look at this door panel. Just look at all the different materials used. This is painted steel here. Down here, this is a vinyl material. This is an armrest, as well as door handle to pull the door shut. This is the door handle to get out. There's electric window switches, vent window, which operates like this, and that's as far as it goes. That's what it looks like. Down here, there's carpet to match the carpet on the floor. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, emergency brake release or parking brake, a high beam switch, brake pedal, gas pedal. There's a nice little light there. Okay, so we're going to turn the key to the accessory position. We're going to see which button does what here. So this is for the driver's side. This one's for the passenger side. The one just up above that is for the... This is the driver's, this is the passenger's, this is driver's side rear, this is passenger side rear. So that's what the door sounds like when it shuts. Here's what over the hood impression looks like. On to the button switches and knobs. Starting on the left hand side and moving to the right, there are 4 pods that sit directly in front of the driver. Battery at the top, oil pressure at the bottom. Both are idiot lights. Just below that are the lights and the wipers. Just above that to the right is the speedometer with odometer at the bottom. In the center, there's a high beam indicator at the top, and it shows red if your high beams are on. And then right below that is where the turn signal indicators are. Third pod has the gasoline gauge at the top, water temperature, which is also a light. Moving on to the last pod, that has the clock inside of it. Ignition and lighter are found just below that. Drive select modes read park, reverse, neutral, drive, super, and low. Yes, super is mentioned in the owner's manual, and it was a term that was used on the Hydromatic. Fan speed, notice there's 1 through 4 as an option. Climate controls, radio, AM, FM radio. The owner installed these aftermarket gauges for oil pressure, water temperature, and voltage. Here's what first person looks like with the gauges and the steering wheel and the hood. Notice the tachometer. It's on the hood itself. That's very interesting. Up above, sun visors. Here's my hand for reference. Here is the rear view mirror. It has the daytime, nighttime feature. It's on the bottom here. It's just a little switch. Over here, another sun visor for the passenger. Coming back to underneath the steering wheel, there is adequate room underneath the steering wheel. Here's what I look like in the driver's seat. There is lots of headroom in this car. Don't feel claustrophobic whatsoever in this vehicle, and the seats are super comfortable. So check it out. This has crotch ventilators. There's one there, and there's one over there for the passenger. The passenger side one is more aimed at the crotch than the driver's side one is, but they're there. It's also got other vents over here. So there's a vent there, and there's a vent there for the panel. It's got a nice grab handle for the passenger to hold on tight, because this thing's gonna really go. To the glove box test. Here's our test subject, and here's my hand for reference. We upgraded, we got a better lens, so if you see the button switches in, knobs more stable, that's why, because we got a nice new lens with image stabilization. Here is our glove box. I had to switch to the original lens to make it more fair across the board, because this one is a much beefier lens than this lens. But here we go, inside the glove box. And it doesn't fit. I mean, it maybe could. It's the top is what it keeps getting caught onto. So it doesn't fit. All right, getting in the back seat, there's a button here. You push the button and that releases the seat back. Notice how far forward it goes. It almost folds completely flat. If the steering wheel wasn't in the way, it would fold completely flat. That's how much space you have to get back there.
As he gets in.
As I get in. Falling over myself. Okay, I'm back. All right, I'm gonna pull the seat back. There we go. All right, so sitting in the rear seat back here, I got headroom. It's very tight. Let's take a look at the seat profile here. The seat is very upright. The rear of the seat does dip down back here further than it does here. Here is what the knee situation looks like. I got negative knee space. Knees are past the chair, but I'm 6'2", and I'm a full-grown adult. If you're a kid, you could fit back here better than I can. I just like showing what a full-size adult looks like in the back seat of a classic car. There are some creature comforts though. There's a coat hook there, as well as an ashtray, and they give you a nice armrest to rest your arm on, just like the one in the front, only it's in the back. Same thing over here. There's a nice ashtray as well as armrest, and that's what your arm would look like when it's resting on it. Coat hook there. Here is what the back to front view looks like. Nice dome light in the center. Here's what the rear view looks like. Check out those wings in the back. Getting out back here, so notice if I push up on the seat, it's locked. You have to push this button to unlock the seat back. Just step out of here. The hole isn't very big to get out of. So check this out. Inside the glove box here, there is a power trunk feature. It's all the way in the back. Right back here in the corner, and it's electric operated. And that pops the trunk. And this is how big the trunk is. It's got full-size spare tire, nice big car cover. There's enough room in back here for a couple bodies.
Oh yeah.
If Zach was back here, we put him in the back of the trunk again. All right, coming up to the under the hood section. The hood release is right up inside here. Pull it to the right and that pops it, and it brings it to the second catch. And the other release is directly underneath the Pontiac logo, and you pull it towards you. The hood is extremely heavy. And there it is. It's an aftermarket AC compressor. It's got an alternator, power steering pump, dual master cylinder with power brakes. Driving the GTO, we're gonna goose her here. We're going 45 miles an hour. We're turning 2,000 RPM. Got up to 65 pretty fast.
Yeah. You need to go, it'll go.
It's so nice. It's everything I ever thought it would be.
See what I'm talking about on the fuel, on the gas pedal though? How nice and smooth.
It's so smooth.
Cable drive is.
So smooth.
Yeah.
The owner was telling me that the gas pedal is cable drive as opposed to linkage driven, and you could definitely tell that, like in the Pontiac GTO we drove not too long ago, the 70, the Judge, it was the same way. There's no hiccups. Some of these like cars, when you get into the linkage clutches, they're really hard to push down for some reason, and the Pontiacs don't seem to have that. The steering wheel has a nice dish feel too. It's not straight.
And I like the small size.
Yeah, pencil thin. You can drive it with a finger.
Yeah.
About the driving experience, this thing drives absolutely amazing. It sort of floats, but it's not rough either. It's sort of in the middle, sort of like a Plymouth Savoy. I keep going back to that car. It's funny, but it's so true. And this car has plenty of power. And the owner told me it's got a highway gear in it, 250, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. 250 rear end. So we're going 50 miles an hour. We're turning 2,000 RPM, and it's just cruising. Like it's so nice. I'm gonna get on it a little bit.
You don't have to baby it.
60 miles an hour. 60 miles an hour. We're turning about 2,100 RPM now.
Yeah.
The steering is so nice.
Yeah.
You just point the car and it goes. You wouldn't know that you're driving a muscle car.
No, this thing handles beautifully.
A lot of these muscle cars are very vague. This one's not. Mm-hmm. This one follows through wherever you put it.
Yeah.
Okay, before we conclude, I want to give you my final thoughts on this car. The owner switched out the rear end and put a 250 as opposed to whatever rear end is in here originally, and he also added fuel injection. With those two upgrades, he's able to get between 20 and 25 miles to the gallon out of this car, which is incredible. This car runs and drives great, but it doesn't come to life until about 3,500 RPM. Once you hit 3,500 RPM in this car, it turns into a totally different car, like full out monster. Like this car is absolutely insane at that RPM range. And the owner, get this, the owner let me shift this car manually. And you're probably sitting there wondering, why would you want to shift a automatic car manually? Because it gives you full control over the RPM range. Generally, now this doesn't apply to everything, but the higher you go in the RPM range, the more power you generally make, the faster you go. So if you can hold first gear and hold it there until, 5,000, this engine's good for about 5,500 RPM, the owner told me. So if you can hold it there, and you could essentially get more out of the car if you shift it manually, because you have control over all of that. It's also worth pointing out that you have to know what you're doing. Like, you don't want to, say, miss a gear. Like, say you're going from second to third, miss third, go through neutral, and go into reverse, because you will no longer have reverse. It's also worth mentioning that you do not want to be on full power when you switch gears. Almost like, how like you're driving a clutch car, you're not on throttle when you're on the clutch. So you got to take like a little bit of a break, or at least that's how I was taught. I've never blown one up shifting it manually. Anyway, back to the car. This thing drives, sounds, shifts absolutely smooth, and it's completely stable the faster you go. Some cars aren't stable, but this car was totally planted, had great brake pedal feel as well, and steering was on par. This car was simply amazing, and I thank you so much for this opportunity if you're watching this. On to the pros and cons section. I'm getting all of these pros and cons from the complete book of collectible cars, Blue Chip Auto Investments, 70 years from 1930 to 2000 by Richard M. Langworth and the Auto Editors of Consumer Guide. On the positive side, as for the 1964 through 65 GTO, including milestone status, plus more readily available hardtops in lower current condition asking prices for all models, I don't totally agree with that. You have to remember, this book was written like 20 years ago, so things have changed. Anyway, against it. As for the 1964 through 65 GTO, but less in demand and less potential dollar return. Things have definitely changed since this book's been written. But anyway, let's go back to the 64 and 65 GTO and see what was said about that. On the positive side, milestone car status, tremendous go, fine handling, more rapidly sought after than ever. Against it, high operating costs, especially insurance. So construction quality. All right, now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give me the correct name of the band as well as song title, both correctly, will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Had to make that one a little bit easier. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. I really appreciate all the continued support. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section. I read and answer all comments posted. If you want to talk one-on-one with me, shoot me a message on Facebook. Yeah, if you catch me on here or on Facebook, just know that I really appreciate everything. And until next time, toodaloo! So this is what the gauges look like at night. It's also worth mentioning that these gauges aren't in the pods as in like straight up and down. They're actually like angled. They're angled up.
That's supposed to have a backlit, but I guess the backlit light's gone out. All there is a needle light.